Hello, 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 and welcome back for the first time today to Southeast Iowa Union's Prep Sports Plus. Hunter and I are inviting you into our humble homes. I think we're both wearing green today. I'm colorblind, but we're wearing green, or are neither of us wearing green?
I'm wearing red, bud.
Yeah, frig. I have Christmas colors. Am I wearing green? Dogs barking.
Wait a minute.
Dogs barking.
It looks green. It looks a little yellowish green.
Not to brag, this is a shirt I got for running a 5K. No big deal. Athlete ran a 5K. No big deal.
No big deal.
A hilly 5K. No big deal. Shout out to everyone who ran the half marathon in Washington this weekend, including my wife, by the way. Saw them setting up for that. The last soccer game I was at. We are here. We're on Southeast Iowa Union's, the Southeast Iowa Video Network, presented by Southeast Iowa Union. And what allows us to be here today, Hunter?
Well, that would be fair food.
Hunter, screwing up the title sponsor.
Fairway Food Stores. I almost said Fairfield Food Stores. That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, I could tell Fairfield messed you up. Fair food is like what you call if someone calls you like H-Man for Hunter, that's like Fairfield. It's like I'm such good friends with Fairway that I have a nickname of my own. This is going to be a dog-laden episode, everybody. Let me just tell you. Last week was my first week broadcasting from my house since the office closed. This is week 2. Last week he was great. Week number 2. Something's going on outside. You know what happened is there was a lost dog yesterday that ran by. It got found, but it got found outside of our house. But now he's just looking. He's like, maybe there's other dogs. Maybe there's other dogs for me to bark at. So he's going window to window today. So for every bark that he barks, just remember that's your reminder that Fairway Food Stores is the best place to go to get meat, groceries, and anything in between. Hunter, we're going to talk a little track. You like talking track?
I do like talking track.
I like talking track, and there's two meets. There's 2 meets a year that are the creme de la creme, Hunter. They are the big one. They're the big time. They're the big money maker. And one of them happened this last week. The Drake Relays. Do you remember how many years is Drake Relays? I had the whateverth annual thing up, and did I close out of it? I did.
I can't remember.
I did close out of it, Hunter. But Drake Relays in Des Moines at the Blue Oval at Drake University, home of the Bulldogs, former home of current Iowa Hawkeye basketball coach Ben McCollum. And we're going to read off some results, Mr. Hunter.
Yes,
for the state. Do you want to be the result leader offer? You want to be the result reader and I'll be the commenter, or you want me to be the result reader and you be the commenter?
Well, I have all the results right here.
You do it. I'll be you tell me. You why don't you tell us? Why don't you tell us
I'll jump right into it. So obviously, we had quite a few athletes there. Obviously, you mentioned last week's episode that there were some dealing with some injuries, which those injuries were pretty big, at least for the athletes that were injured, because they really had a shot with I guess for competing for the Drake Relays titles there, but didn't have any title. Well, we did have one title winner. The highest places we had was one winner and then one second place finisher. Let me just run through. I'm just going to go through each day. So starting with Thursday.
I like that. Yeah, we'll talk about Thursday first. We had some big stuff.
All right. So starting with Thursday's events, we'll jump into girls discus. 2 athletes in competing in that. Obviously, Anna Hadley, state champion, 2 years ago as a freshman. She finished 6th with a throw of 135.10. Then we also Mid-Prairie represented well in the relays as usual with track and field, but Dessa Poole 16th with a 119.03 throw. One of our highest finishers came in boys shot put on Thursday, obviously. Grayson Hartman, whose brother was obviously most notably a stellar shot putter to I'll finish second in state his senior season. He gets second.
We've done a great job not calling Grayson Braden in any of our stories because I did almost do that the other day.
I know. But kind of following in his brother's footsteps, obviously only a sophomore, already one of the best throwers in the state. He finishes second with a throw of 58.11. Also, another Mid-Prairie athlete, Burke Berry, 12th in the shot put, 53.25 there. Boys long jump, one of the best jumpers in Class 1A. Owen Scott finishes 11th. Hillcrest Academy's Owen Scott, 21.150. Obviously missing from the boys long jump field, most notably Avon Truong, who's got second best jump in the state this season.
Yep. Those two. Avon had a lower body injury leading up, hamstring. So I think that Owen, Scott, and Avon Truong will both be there's a real chance for both of them to win state here in a few weeks. Hopefully they're both healthy and
both one of the best, some of the best jumpers in their respective classes. But obviously, boys, high jump on Thursday. The most two notable names for high jumpers around the area right now is Fairfield duo Ryan Giberson, Eli Zillman. Obviously, Zillman defending 3A state champion in the high jump. Both jumpers cleared 6.4 on the day, so that was good enough for a tie for fourth. A bunch of people cleared 6.4 at the relays. I think it was over 5. Those two finished fourth to Drake. And obviously those two in their respective classes when state rolls around, both will be in contention for state title once again for that. So
for sure. On Hartman's throw, people that have watched state or went to state know this, but for the field events, for the throws and the jumps, you get 3. So you get 3 throws.
Yep.
And then if you can make the finals. So if you scratch on all 3, you're done because you're last and you don't get the 3 extra throws. Hartman actually scratched the first 2 throws, and then his best throw, his second place throw, was his third throw, which is rarity because sometimes that's just like a get over throw, like crud, I don't want to step, but something there's a huge clutch throw. I mean that's the difference between getting a DNP and second place at Drake is
which is heartbreaking when you're.
It is, and that happens all the time in long jump. Discus and shot put where people so so you can go ahead and go into for Thursday was a really big day. There's a lot of field stuff, and our overall group is very good at field events right now.
Now the last one on Thursday is girls long jump. Obviously Mid-Prairie's Georgie Evans. Obviously she's in a lot of events. But she finishes 22nd.
A long time too, I think.
In the 22nd in the long jump, 15.6.25 for her on the day. And obviously Mid-Prairie girls, we're going to see, on the girls' side, there's just a couple with Evans there, and then a couple relays. But when state rolls around, obviously Mid-Prairie girls will be, as long as everyone's healthy.
As long as everyone's healthy.
We're dealing with some injuries.
That's always what it is with track because you just never know.
Mid-Prairie girls looking to have a big year at state as a team once again. Like we saw a couple years ago when they won, they're just winning state title left and right. But moving on to Friday, more field events to start. Boys discus, Grayson Hartman once again for Washington, 19th in the discus, 143.02.25. Girls shot put, Pekin-Zana Hadley again. Obviously, she won the state title in shot put last year, didn't she?
She won shot put last year and discus the year before. I think second in discus last year. So she's up in the top.
Crazy, just going back and forth.
It's weird, but for a kind of similar thing where you're throwing something, not that many kids are that good in discus and shot put where she's one of the premier.
Which is interesting when you look at that. It's like,
yeah. Remember, from Mount Pleasant a few years ago. Jaden Brumbaugh. She didn't even do discus, and then she just did it and won. She just did it once and ended up winning a state title. So it's the same kind of thing where it's like.
Yeah, I remember they just threw her in it and she qualified for state, and she had she had a top 5 throw in the state, her first time throwing the season. It's like,
yeah. So it's kind of a funny deal, but Hadley is definitely one of those where it's like, where it's like she's gonna compete in both for the rest of her high school career. So
right.
All right, Friday.
Well, continuing on, she took 15th. Hadley did and shot put 36.09.75. Our lone winner of the Drake relays was in the boys 400-meter wheelchair. Mid Prairie's Jaden Stafford 1:03.22 to win the title there. Obviously, in a lot of the wheelchair events, he's going to be the favorite. He's kind of only gotten better as his careers went on. He's been stellar for the Golden Hawks. Also, you just muted yourself. I don't know if you noticed that, but
I did that on purpose because the dog and I started talking.
Oh, gotcha. Fourth in the 400-meter wheelchair will be Josh Anderson of Washington, 109.95. Seen those two kind of go back and forth. Looking forward to seeing that up at state as well. But moving on, boys 800-meter. Winfield Mount Union's Colby Newsom takes 10th. 155.79. Obviously, when state rolls around, he's got one of the best times in Class 1A. So watch out for Newsom in that event. Girls 100-meter. Georgia Evans, Mid Prairie, mentioned her having a lot of events, being in a lot of events. She finishes 8th in the 100-meter, 12.33 in that. And once again, in Class 2A, she'll be one of the favorites. Should be at the top of the board there in that event at state as well. Boys 110-meter hurdles on Friday. Alexander Reese of Columbus, actually two Columbus kids. Alexander Reese finishes 19th, 14.83. Lamar Sinat of Columbus, 18.68 there. And then on Saturday, obviously Saturday's kind of the relay. There's a lot of relays on Saturday.
That's when all the kids come for the big 4x1 battle.
Yeah. We had a number of 4x1s, obviously, and that's kind of the biggest pool of relays that people get selected from. Obviously, the 100-meter and the 4x1. So starting with the girls 4x1, 3 teams there. Highest finisher, obviously, Mid Prairie, 24th in the event. Georgia Evans, Tessa Bombay, Miley Hirschberger, and Jovi Evans run 50.13. Good to see Jovi Evans back. Obviously, a couple weeks ago, she was on crutches. Huge piece for Mid Prairie in the relays, and she's kind of been a great anchor for them for a number of years now. So definitely good to see Mid Prairie having her back in the relays there. But Mount Pleasant, 49th, Kinley White, Ellie Freeman, Taylor Williamson, Kaya Sanders run 50.77, 49th. Washington was in it as well. Layla Green, Jaden Moore, Leighton Salazar, Leighton Messenger. They did get DQ'd, so I'm assuming that had to do with the handoff or at the start. I'm not really 100% sure. Obviously, they don't leave they don't have like comments about how they got DQ'd or anything.
Yeah, I didn't see how either, but it's a drop baton or a step. A lot of teams, it's actually very interesting when you're there that day because there's so many 4x1s that go zzz, 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 and just to sit there and watch how precise everybody has to be. So we're pretty fortunate that we, as many teams as we got, we only had one DQ in the whole deal. Yeah.
And a lot of the times they're pretty strict up there at Drake. Sometimes it kind of depends who's running the gun, because sometimes they'll DQ you, and sometimes they'll just like give you a warning. But I've seen more often than not they just DQ you, which is like, God, that sucks.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're very strict with it. It's funny. Sometimes so Denny White doesn't do it as much anymore. Former Mount Pleasant coach, but he's a track official. Or was for a long, long time, and he was always the guy that said that called people over to Section O so they could tell him you're disqualified. And so I used to love walking by and being like, Denny, you gonna disqualify some kids today? You gonna ruin some greens?
I mean, I kind of get it, like getting automatically DQ'd, because it's like you've had the whole season to kind of prepare for this. Yeah. So it's like at this point you should like.
Oh yeah, it's the magic. That's just track. You have to be.
I kind of get it, but at local meets, usually they don't DQ you. They just whatever.
Yeah. You get one false start at local meets, and then. But I get if you were to allow, like if you're like, well, you get a couple false starts, it's whatever, and then people would just try and time it all the time, and
true
disaster. So.
But final event of the day. of Drake relays. Boys 4x1, 5 teams in this one. Most notable, New London's 4x1 of Cale Westerbeck, Gavin Strawhacker, Brigham Porter, London Franklin. They finished 25th in Class 1A. They're, I think, the second fast time in the state in the 4x1, unless it's changed. But come state time, they'll be one of the favorites in this event. 43-48, the Tigers run there. So coming after them was Columbus. 42nd, they finished Juan Charez, Alex Reese, Lamar Sanat, and Riley Calberg, 43-84. Mid Prairie's group of Caden Koss, Kendrick Koss, Nolan Jurgens, Riley Henry, 44-06 for 50th. 62nd is Fairfield's group of Dylan Adams, Spencer McCready, Ethan Bisgard, Dason Workman, 44-35. And then finally Washington's Cater Gomez Valdez, Cale Williams, Jayford Espinoza, and Nate Edmonds, 44-39 for 63rd. So yeah, that is the full list of our Drake relays, kind of our Drake relays results from Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So next up will be the state the biggest meets will be the state qualifying meet, and then state.
Yep, we have this will be our, I believe, this conference next week. So this is our last week without a major meet. Let me triple check here to make sure I'm not lying like a dirty liar to everyone. Yeah, we have a few of our schools were in Keokuk last night. The track teams, there'll be Waco. Waco has a meet tomorrow night, but and there's a lot of area teams there, but that's the only one on local soil. So it's a rare off Thursday where we don't have a bunch of meets or teams going wherever. But and then next week on Thursday is our packed day where we have conference tennis in boys and girls and conference track in boys and girls together at Fairfield. So next Thursday, 1 week from today, if you're watching this live on Thursday, Fairfield High School will host the boys and girls SEC meet, and the super conference meet is also on Thursday as well. So I'm going to look up where the super conference meet is. It's before I lie about it here. And so this is the last week before we are in straight up postseason. Drake is basically the beginning of track postseason, which is weird because it's like a whole month. But basically that's what it is. That super conference meet, by the way, is at Waco High School.
We love it when it's at Waco High School.
We sure do. We love everything at Waco High School. In fact, I'll be at Waco High School. I mean, by the time you're watching this, I've already been there, but I'll be at Waco for a little soccer tonight. And speaking of soccer, when we come back, we're going to talk all about soccer. We're going to give analysis. We're going to give scores. We're going to give stats. So soccer fans, hooligans, all you hooligans out there, stick with us. We'll be back.
Introducing Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every meal is a delight. Start your day with our mouthwatering breakfast options and savor flavorful lunches with friends and family. Cap off your day with our delectable dinners. Hy-Vee Market Grill, where every moment is delicious.
The Connie and Amanda team is dedicated to giving back to our community by actively engaging with our clients, businesses, and the public. When it comes to helping you find your next home, investment, or commercial space, the Connie and Amanda team is here for you.
Washington County Hospital and Clinics, providing quality health care that puts you first. Whether during a hospital stay, seeing a primary care provider for wellness exams or sick visits, minor surgery to a total joint replacement, or recovering from an injury, we're here when you need us.
More than you expect for your health care. Washington County Hospital and Clinics.
Hello, welcome back. Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus. Powered by Fairway Food Stores. You're here on the Southeast Iowa Video Network, where you can see live soccer. Did you know this? Did you know this, everybody? On this channel, Facebook and YouTube, you can see live soccer, expertly done, video cameras, broadcasters, players, games, no overtime because that doesn't exist anymore. But we have high-quality soccer, Washington Demon home games, broadcast here, every single home game, boy and girl. We're going to talk a little, we'll talk girls soccer first. I was at a instant classic on today's Thursday, so this would have been 3 days ago. Monday night, the Fairfield Trojans host the Mount Pleasant Panthers in the War on 34, Hunter. Let me tell you about it. I show up at halftime because I went to tennis first. You know, me and Hunter are running around like crazy. We go to tennis, we go to golf, we go to track, we go to soccer, we go to whatever. I show up halftime thinking, oh, I got to figure out what the score is. It's at Dexter Sports Complex, which doesn't have a scoreboard. Plus, either way, you know, I'm asking fans like, hey, what's going on? What's the scoop? What has been going on in this game? Who scored goals? It was 0-0. They waited for me to get there to score goals. So
there you go.
I get there 7 minutes into the second half. Sharisa Warda for Mount Pleasant scores the first goal of the game. Nice follow-in goal to put the Panthers up 1-0. Panthers hold on to that until the last 17 minutes of the game. In fact, 16 and a half minutes when Lexi Mass, freshman, blasts one into the upper right corner to tie it for Fairfield 1-1. And then Fairfield actually had a lot of shots to take the lead in the last 16 minutes of the game, but not the very last shot, because the very last shot came off the foot of Aurora Hummel, who took a through ball from Awarda up the right side of the field and dashed past the defender to the net and put it in the perfect spot. A freshman from Mount Pleasant, Aurora Hummel, ends up being the hero. 2-1 Mount Pleasant. See what she had to say about it in the Southeast Iowa Union, because got the player interview after the game. So heartbreaker for Fairfield, because Fairfield played well. You know, we know that they've been playing super well, very young. I'd say by next year, probably a top 2-3 team in the conference for sure. But the more experienced Panthers win this one, but a little bit of that experience was injured for this game, and as a freshman who scored the game winner, so I can't even really say that. But a big win over the rival Trojan for the Panther girls. And then, Hunter, I will just go ahead and jump into Washington because, fun fact, this guy. Fun fact, I've been Mr. Southeast Conference girls soccer lately because I was at the makeup game between Washington and Mount Pleasant last week. And fun fact, if you're watching this on Thursday, I believe I will be at Washington and Mount Pleasant tonight because they're playing twice in the span of about a week. On Thursday night, Mount Pleasant and Washington on the Southeast Iowa Union video network played their makeup game, kind of. If you guys remember, Mount Pleasant was up 3-1 at halftime in Washington the first time around. That game, because they only had one referee, had to get totally scrapped from the record book. It was like a queen. It was like a queen in the 300s, the 400s, where the new queen would come in and they just scrap all evidence of the old queen. That's pretty much what happened to this soccer game. So we started all over, and only one player was able to put the ball in the net. She hit it twice. Jossie Carter for Washington puts 2 in the net. 2-0 Demons over the Panthers. And first win for Washington, and 4 tries over to Mount Pleasant after they went for like 100 overtimes in 10 games a few years ago. So that sets up for Thursday night, as the Mount Pleasant Panthers will now host the Washington Demons in the ultimate grudge match just a week after they last played. So interesting situation there. And the dog's he gets up for Washington Mount Pleasant soccer, believe me. He's asking me all the time, Dad, he calls me Dad. He says, Dad, when is Washington and Mount Pleasant going to play in girls soccer again? It's tonight, Thursday night, if you're watching this live, Hunter. Oh, and I should probably go through the why don't I go ahead and tell you, bring you up to speed on the SEC girls soccer standings, which are currently being controlled by the Fort Madison Bloodhounds and Burlington Greyhounds, who are both 4-0-1, both undefeated, tied against each other our teams need some math to work out because Mount Pleasant now sits in third at 3-3. Washington is 2-3 in fourth. They still have to make up a game against Fort Madison, and Keokuk and Fairfield have both won one game, 1-4 and 1-5. So that's where we stand in the SEC. And Hunter, you've been Mr. SEC boys soccer. What's been going on?
Yeah, let's jump into the biggest game of the week so far as it pertains to SEC standings. Mount Pleasant taking on Fairfield, and obviously the Panthers kind of been rolling in the SEC this season. Obviously hold the top spot, haven't lost yet. But
and they blasted Fort Madison the other day. I was at that game. I've got to mention they blasted them 5-1.
Yeah,
5 straight in that game,
which is like we kind of expected Fort Madison to be kind of right there, kind of same level.
Yeah, for sure, and I think they are. But Mount Pleasant just played awesome, even without one of their best players, Akbar Wilson, the other day.
But yeah, Fairfield gave them about all they could handle there on Monday night in Mount Pleasant, Eastlake Park. But ended up being a 1-1 draw. But Mount Pleasant needed some late game heroics from one of their best players, and Dylan White to kind of survive their first SEC defeat. Took Fairfield all but 4 minutes to score in this one. Noah Patel got a pass from Ian Richard. I talked about last week. The through ball is like the biggest thing. Kind of just send the ball past the defense. You got to time your run right. That's kind of what happened, and Patel was able to stay on side, get the ball into the right side of the box, and put it up into the left corner, and give Fairfield a 1-0 lead. And the thing about Mount Pleasant is they held possession for the majority of this match. Like I would bet the possession was probably. It was probably set honestly like 70-30, maybe 60-40 or so.
I heard they got 35 shots off or something like that. I was actually their coach.
Well,
Mount Pleasant coach.
It was they outshot them 14-8.
Oh, 14-8. Oh, maybe he was talking about it again.
So
I was chatting soccer last
14
night.
shots and then 11 of Mount Pleasant shots were on target. It's just they just couldn't get it in. Fairfield did really well defensively, and and they obviously they were able to kind of thwart Mount Pleasant for the majority of that game, and obviously ended with Fairfield. The first half ended with Fairfield up 1-0. It was kind of more of the same in the second. Mount Pleasant controlling possession, but Fairfield was able to kind of stop any hope of Mount Pleasant's scoring, and then really, in the final probably 10 minutes, you could kind of see Mount Pleasant was like, all right, we got to figure something out. You kind of get that scramble when you realize time's ticking down. Yeah,
they probably moved up a little bit too, right? They started to scoot up a little bit.
And then, Fairfield kind of drops the defense back, kind of loads the second, the back half of the field. But Asa Rose kind of with about 2 minutes, just over 2 minutes to go, on the right side of the field, probably about 20 yards outside the box, kind of lofted the ball over, kind of switched the field a little bit, but probably got Dylan White within probably about 5 yards outside the box, and White kind of shifted to his right foot, probably one of the the best goals I've seen of the season, like as it pertains to kind of putting the ball out of the keeper's reach, and White was able to kind of bend the ball into the right corner from the left side of the box, and ended up tying it up with about just over 2 minutes to go. And obviously at that point, you could kind of tell that the Fairfield was kind of like broken.
Leading that long.
So well to stop Mount Pleasant's attack the whole game, and just kind of broke there at the end. And instead of Fairfield getting out of there with a SEC win, which would have see here, let me look at the standings quick.
Oh, I can tell you if they would have won that, it would have put
they would have been.
Mount Pleasant and Madison would have both been 3-1, and Fairfield would have been 2-1. So they would have been within striking distance for sure. Now, right as it stands, Mount Pleasant 4-0-1 and Fort Madison 3-1.
Which why it's kind of a big deal that Mount Pleasant was able to get that get that goal late, even though despite tying. I mean, you'd rather have the tie there than you'd rather have the win, but I mean, regardless, you'd rather get back to tie it than suffer the loss there, because they still stay that game ahead of. That game ahead of Fort Madison. Regardless,
they're like half. I guess it's points, but it's they're a half game above Fort Madison. So Fairfield and Mount Pleasant have both already played twice. Yeah. So Mount Pleasant still plays Fort Madison. Fort Madison still has to play Fairfield. So it's a whole thing. And you know what? I say those teams, but honestly, the conference has been close. I mean, Washington and Burlington have both fought hard. It's funny, Mount Pleasant, my voice just cracked there for a second. Mount Pleasant has had 3 straight conference games where they were down 1-0 and they haven't lost any of them.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty tight race, but mathematically, Fort Madison and Mount Pleasant, take a lot for one of those two not to end up being the champ.
The tie actually hurts Fairfield more, and if you think about it, because Fairfield technically needed to win more, because if Mount Pleasant would have lost, they still would have had that advantage over Fort Madison. But hey, that's how it goes. We've seen some good. You saw Burlington and Mount Pleasant go at it. The SEC is real tight this year. Mount Pleasant obviously just finding ways to get it done, or I guess get done what they need to be. What they need to get done.
I think Mount Pleasant has more quick strike where you have so many kids. I mean, against Fort Madison, it was 1-1 at halftime, and then Dylan White scored 2 in 3 minutes, and they were both upper right corner goals where you're like, well, they have, no one's stopping that. So they have a lot of weapons to throw at you in a close game. Yeah.
Just jumping through the rest. So obviously, the rest of them. Obviously, Fairfield again. I saw last night. In Fairfield boys taking on Danville, New London. That one ended with Fairfield ended with a Fairfield win, 3-2 over the Bears. Really efficient first half for Fairfield. Ended up scoring 3 goals. All 3 of their goals came in the first half there. Ben Truong with a pair, and then Lane Stever added the other. Really, Fairfield kept the pressure up. Ended up having 25 shots in the night, 11 those on target. Danville, New London did score 1 in the first half as well. But Fairfield was kind of able to control for the majority of the match. Danville, New London did get another one late, so bring it within 3-2. But with how the game had been going, it basically time kind of wasn't on their side. Late in that game, but still a little bit of a scare for Fairfield late there. But they're able to kind of avenge that loss on Monday night. Obviously, not an SEC win, which holds a little bit more weight as it pertains to conference, standings and whatnot. But Fairfield gets back in the win column with a 3-2 win, and they pick up their 3rd win of the season with that one. So now 3-3-2. The Trojans are obviously those two ties are tough. If those turn into wins, sitting at 5-3, and feel a little bit better about the record there. But hey, that's how it goes.
That's how it goes. Yeah, and there's a good opportunity that you got to see Danville, New London, and then I will be seeing Waco against Washington tonight. By the way, a quick update on the Super Conference standings. 3 non-area teams are technically 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, with Notre Dame, Mediapolis, and Centrally. Hillcrest Academy 2-1-1, still in that fight. Highland 2-3, Danville 1-2-1, Waco 2-5, Columbus 1-3.
Yeah, and just to mention real quick, I'll run through these. I was just going to mention these scores quick. Washington did play Burlington on Monday night, both boys and girls. Both got shut out by the Greyhounds. 6-0 loss for the girls, 3-0 loss for the boys there. So tough Monday night for Washington soccer.
Burlington girls soccer has been putting it on our team, so we got to have somebody stop those guys.
Yeah.
And by putting it on those teams, I don't mean just this year. I mean the last, ever since I moved into Southeast Iowa, somebody's got to stop.
They've been really good. Burlington's 7-1-2, so. They're good.
They're good. And so Yeah, that's all we got for soccer. We're going to go to commercial break, and we're going to talk a little tennis. We're going to talk a little golf. So get your clubs out and get your rackets out. We'll be back.
Attention Hy-Vee shoppers, introducing Hy-Vee Perks, your ticket to exclusive savings and rewards. Access exclusive perks, prices, earn gas discounts, and unlock special deals. All this for free. Join Hy-Vee Perks today and start saving.
At SeaFirst Credit Union, we're all about making connections, like how we connect you with a flexible financing you need to install that all-season room or remodel your kitchen with a home equity line of credit. Connect with SeaFirst today and see why together is better.
Bring the kids, share the memories, celebrate 75 years of traditions at the Midwest Old Threshers Reunion. Relive the magic of steam engines, antique cars, and trucks, tractors, gas engines, and horses. Whether it's your first visit or a cherished tradition, you'll enjoy the delicious foods, the thrill of an Old West shootout, and the excitement of nightly grandstand entertainment. For 75 years, this has been the place where memories are made at the 2025 Midwest Old Threshers Reunion, August 28th through September 1st in Mount Pleasant, Iowa. Visit oldthreshers.com for more details.
In the heart of rural Iowa, where community matters most, the connections we make are made to last. Meet KCTC, your hometown internet, phone, and TV provider. At KCTC, we're not just about technology, we're about people. Our dedicated team are your neighbors, committed to bringing you top-tier services right where you live. We believe in giving back to the community that raised us. Experience the power of a real connection with KCTC. Join us in building a stronger, more connected Southeast Iowa.
Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus, presented by Fairway Food Stores, powered by Fairway Food Stores, carried by Fairway Food Stores, really. You could say I already said the word powered. Any word you can put in there, that's what happens because of Fairway Food Stores. We're going to talk a little tennis. We're going to talk a little golf. Tennis-wise, why don't I go ahead and set the scene, Hunter? Can I set the scene for you? Close your eyes for me, Hunter.
I'm closing them.
You're in the hot sun at Fairfield Middle School, right outside of Fairfield Middle School, in between the school itself and the softball field and baseball field. You're at the Fairfield Middle School tennis courts, and you're watching the Trojan boys and girls continue their double undefeated season. That's where I was a couple nights ago. Trojan boys, Trojan girls, 15 games between them. 15 matches between them, 0 losses, 0 ties. You can't really tie because you play out of 9. Played one of the tougher opponents, Burlington, on Monday night. I was there for some boys action. It was an 8-1 win for the Fairfield boys, and let me tell you who got it done the best. Trojans get whoa, what is this? Oh, there's breaking news. Woo! Fartybound has this a little bit messed up. 8-1, but they're showing 2 Burlington wins, which is... All right, I figured it out. We got singles wins from Rumen Luau, Han Wang, Bowen Zhang, Rylan Anderson, and Rocky Galusha. Those were dominant wins. Sweeps in the first 3. Went to tiebreaker in Anderson's number 5 game and Galusha's number 6 singles match. The only loss was Ethan Cass at number 4, and he went to the bitter end, an 11-9 loss in the tiebreaker, else this would have been a full-on sweep. And then in doubles, only 5 games lost between the 3 doubles teams. Wang and Cass win 8-1 in the number 1. Luau and Zhang 8-0 in the number 2, and Anderson and Emerson 8-4 in the number 3. The Fairfield Trojan boys tennis team is absolutely stacked this year, and so are the girls. But they had a little more trouble They had to grind one out against Burlington, 5-4 on Monday. This is at Burlington. Oops, I had the results up there and went away from them. We might have a glitch here on the singles results. But trust me, a 5-4 win over Burlington for the Trojans. They had just beaten Maharishi 8-1 a few days prior. They had beaten Fort Madison, Keokuk, Davis County, and Mount Pleasant already. Let me read off the Maharishi results here. Maha at Fairfield last Thursday. We had Pujita Mukadam defeating Ria Altinska Ross 8-3. Natalie Steele beating Joyce Wang 8-2. The first two names I said there were Fairfield, by the way. These are all Fairfield wins. Marion Duncan in the number 4 matchup beats Chaeyoon Kim 8-0. Faith Jones over Kathy Tang 8-1. And Faven Gerber Miriam beats Sohani Singh 8-0 in the number 6 match, the only win for Maharishi. And this was an 8-2 win from Aparajita Kalra over Emma Wendland, 8-2 in the number 3 match. And then doubles, Fairfield doubles, number 1 doubles takes 8-1. Number 2 doubles wins 8-3. Number 3 doubles wins 8-0. So Fairfield beats Maharishi the other day. They just beat Burlington 5-4. And the Trojans are looking stronger and stronger as the year goes on. 15 matches, 0 losses. So how many boxing matches did Floyd Mayweather go without losing?
Oof, 50
like 51.
Yeah, 51. I think
they're catching up to him. We'll call them the Fairfield Money Trojans if they get to 51-0. I don't think that's mathematically possible. Hunter, you were at a little girls tennis yesterday, correct?
No, you are wrong. It was on Monday.
Wow, and I'm even double wrong if you consider the fact that we're technically this is a Thursday show.
True. That's okay.
You know what? Everything is yesterday. My 3-year-old, if it's not today, if it's any day in the past, it's yesternight. So she'll be like, Dad, I wore that shirt yesternight.
That's funny.
Yeah, yesternight. Great word. I will never correct her. Hopefully she says that forever and ever. Go ahead.
Yeah, on Monday night, while I was watching some Fairfield Mount Pleasant boys soccer, I also took a little, can't call it a little trip really, but took a little stroll over across the street, East Lake Park, to watch some tennis as well. Mount Pleasant taking on Fort Madison. Pretty dominant showing for Mount Pleasant tennis. They pick up win number 2 in head-to-heads this season. 8-1 win over Fort Madison. Fort Madison hasn't won a match all season, but the Panthers looked really, really good in this one. In fact, I went over there at halftime of the soccer game, and pretty much the 1, 2, and 3 matches were all complete and went that quick. And looking at the results, you can tell why. Bethany Drury, 8-0 winner over Lila Shepard. Audrey Richmond, 8-0 winner over Athena Snook. Helena Crane, 8-1 winner over Maddie Emmett in the 1, 2, 3 matches there for Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant's only loss on the night came in the number 4 match. Zoe Carlson falls 8-5 to Lucille Zimmerman. But then Lila Cook, 8-1 over Brooke Johnson, and then Hannah Villaplaza, 8-5 over Lillian Buckner there in the singles matches. Moving on to doubles, Bethany Drury and Richmond, 8-4 over Shepard and Zimmerman, and then Crane and Carlson, 8-2 over Sydney McEntee and then Maddie Emmett. And then in the third match, 8-3 win for Cook and Villa Plaza. So, real dominant showing for the Panthers. Nice for them to get another win. There, obviously, they've been on a little bit of a tough streak there with the last couple matches they had, against Fairfield, 9-0 loss, and Burlington 8-1 loss, and then lost 2 more after that, or prior to that with Maharishi and Keokuk as well. So good for the Panthers. Well, actually, I guess they did beat Notre Dame in their latest one. So back-to-back wins for Mount Pleasant, which is their first. I mean, their 2 wins on the season, so back-to-back wins, and originally 0-5, now 2-5. So good for the Panthers to get in the win column there and back-to-back matches.
Sorry, I was making comments and I realized I was muted now. And then Mount Pleasant boys have only won. They've only lost once this year. It was actually last week to Fairfield. I didn't realize this happened after our show last week. Sometimes they get tripped up on the. But let me tell you, Mount Pleasant 6-1 in boys tennis right now, just before Madison. But last Thursday, it was the battle of the unbeatens between Fairfield and Mount Pleasant. The only win for the Panthers came from Lou Schimmelfigen, who beat Ethan Cass in the number 4 singles match. That went to a 12-2 tiebreaker. But wins for Fairfield at number 1 with Luau, 2 with Wang, 3 with Zhang, 5 with Anderson, and 6 with Nico Emerson. That 6 match between Emerson and Mount Pleasant's Beckham Pro went into a tiebreaker. And then in the doubles, Fulton and Schimmelfigen, sorry about that. Wang and Cass beat Fulton and Schimmelfigen 7-5, 1-6, and then 1-10-2 in the tiebreaker. And Luau and Zhang beat Max Heater and Dane Cook in a tiebreaker in the second, and in a tiebreaker in the third. Anderson and Emerson beat Elijah Reinders and Beckham Pro. So that shows, Fairfield is like up here in boys tennis. Wait, let me see you here. Whoop. Way up here, where you can't even almost see it on the screen. Like, pretend this is like boys tennis right here. This is the boys tennis rule. They're like, you almost can't even see them. They're so good. You can only see half of my hand, Hunter. But Mount Pleasant, they're still pretty high. They're about right here. We have some really solid boys tennis in our area. So that's what happened between the Mount Pleasant boys. I guess we could talk a little golf. You want to talk a little golf?
Yeah, let's hear a little golf.
Let's hear about a little golf. You know what? Let's hear about a little golf. And Hunter, while I bring it up, what do you remember about the SEC golf? Not the aura, but like how the season has went so far in SEC golf. What's been happening?
Boys or girls?
Let's go alphabetical. No. Ladies first. Ladies first. Tell me girls. Bring me up to speed on the girls.
Well,
and then the boys.
Well, the girls' race has been a pretty tight one this season. Obviously, I think Keokuk has kind of, finished with the most, conference wins. But Mount Pleasant, Fort Madison, Fairfield, all right there. Obviously, for our teams, Mount Pleasant, Washington, and Fairfield have a couple girls that have been right there at the top of the individual standings. Keokuk's kind of controlled the team standings, but Fairfield, Mount Pleasant, Washington right there as well. Not too many shots back. So long story short, another intriguing race on the girls' side, and plenty of girls that are right up near the top of the individual slate there. But boys' side, Washington obviously controlling once again with team finishes this season. But once again, kind of the same story. We had Mount Pleasant, Fairfield have some individual finishers right near the top. Obviously, Washington most of the time this season has had, the 1 and 2, taking the 1 and 2 spots. But we've had Fairfield, Mount Pleasant, some individuals, 1-2 shots back. So still a very intriguing race.
It has, and that was a setup because in the SEC golf slate on the girls' side, Hunter, for the first time all year, Keokuk did not win the team race.
See how
this
setting
was
that up?
in Burlington. Great setup. Flint Hills Golf Course. And I'll tell you what, it was a little bit of April madness because Fort Madison beats Keokuk 191-198. Fort Madison's first win of the SEC season. That was they had a girl, Kylie Lumina, who shot a 43, won this thing by 3 shots. And then Washington gets ahead of Mount Pleasant for third for the first time this year. Mount Pleasant and Fort Madison had gotten those second and third each time. This time, Washington 211, Mount Pleasant 213, and creeping right behind those two schools, Fairfield 217. That means between our 3 schools, Washington, Mount Pleasant, and Fairfield. 6 shots between those 3. They finished 20 shots out of the win, but if you think about this, also that's 13 shots between Keokuk and Washington. So you tell me, is that that's an anyone can win situation right now in girls golf? On the boys' side, they were at Washington Golf and Country Club. And I'll tell you what, Washington has been winning the SEC meets that aren't in Washington. So pretty good guess they're going to win the one in Washington. But they had to fight for it. 161 for Washington to win the meet. But Fairfield, 169, just 8 shots behind. A second-place finish for Fairfield. Fairfield's first second-place finish in boys golf. So big finish for the Trojans. And then Mount Pleasant and Fort Madison both hit 176. And Keokuk 193. So that, by the way, 176. Do the math on that. That's 15 strokes between the top 4 teams on the boys' side there. By the way, individually for that, Drew Conrad won it for the Demons. Carson Brown second for Washington with a 38. Mount Pleasant's Alec Barton gets third, tied with Xavier Kessel of Fairfield. So we had 4 in the top 4. And then Fairfield's Luke Thornton also tied for 5th. So 5 in the top 5 plus ties. So watch out. That conference meet is coming up for the girls and boys. And not exactly a slam dunk this year as it has been. There's been some years where you're like, well, we know who's going to win. It's all about who gets second. Every stroke counts, Hunter.
Yes, sir. That's what's great about golf is it's crazy how it comes down to like, 2 strokes or, 3 strokes can separate, like 1 and 10. Like even, it's crazy just how much, little air can basically get you, 7, 8 spots in golf. So it's always fun to watch like how that always plays out because usually it's pretty close in the, it's usually always close in the SEC. So
yeah,
looking forward to the rest of the season.
It's the thing about golf, Hunter. Sometimes your tee shot finds the water, and sometimes you get lucky and it just ends up in the deep rough or something.
Exactly.
That's how life goes. But you know who never ends up in the deep rough?
Who's that?
Southeast Iowa Union Prep Sports Plus. Another flawless job by Hunter and Andy. Another flawless job powering this thing to the finish by Fairway Food Stores. And we're not done. We got a big week coming ahead of us. Next week is pretty much like the spring postseason kickoff show. We're going to call it that. And we'll be there next Thursday. Tune in. Prep Sports Live. When will we see him, Hunter? I already said it, but say it again.
Next week. Peace.